Hello YouTube, Infinite Magicraid community, Gandalf here. It is finally here, the Echo tier list update. I know many of you are waiting for this. Let's get right into it. And for those of you who don't have time to stick around, just give me 1 minute. I'll go over all 4 slides in 15 seconds each. On the first one, you have the Elite Echoes. These are the echoes you want to save early game, and because you really don't have the resources to be pulling a lot of echoes. And these are the 5 that you want to be using. Then when you go into the epic heroes, and this is more your mid to late game, these top row here are the key ones you want to make sure you save around because they're very useful all the way till end game. Finally, you have a lot of legendary echoes you easily get, and these usually come in events, and they're much cheaper to get. And usually, if you don't win your 50-50, you'll get one of them. Half of them are really useful. The top row is really useful. You want to make sure you always keep these. The bottom ones, they aren't very useful, and there's usually 1 or 2 heroes in the game that they could possibly provide value for. Finally, here's the remaining list of all the echoes. I will recommend you look at it where, the ones on the left-hand side are better than the ones on the right-hand side from a value perspective, and I highly recommend you prioritize from top to bottom. Team damage is probably more valuable from improving your entire team's damage as a whole. Survivability is really important. You can't be doing damage if you can't survive the boss. And finally, focus on getting echoes for the highest damaging DPS that you own. So let's get into the details about each of the echoes. First, from the elite echoes, early on, you will find that if you happen to have a lot of basic attack damage heroes that scales off their basic attack but don't require scale damage, and there's a lot more on this list. But when you look at, for example, their second skill, right, is some sort of attack boosting that allow you to take a second turn, or third, ultimate skill allow you to just cycle, or they run with 2 passive. Usually that's a good sign that they're very heavily reliant on their basic attack. Bull is a great example, so is Mackin. Mackin's second skill gives you attack up, then uses the basic attack to do damage. So this gives you a huge scaling of 12%, which is a lot, right? Because in the early game, you don't have this type of stat. So you get 12% extra damage straight off of this echo when you 5-star it. Chelsea is also heavily basic damage reliant. Her second skill actually counts as basic damage. So this will be really good for Chelsea if you happen to be lucky enough to get one of the best burn heroes in the game. And this great echo will serve you well through mid game. Then on to the next echo. This is basically giving up your basic attack for skill damage. And heroes like Moshi is a great example of, her basic attack. Yes, she does basic attack, but most of her damage comes from her skill, especially a higher exclusive when you can just attack boss repeatedly with skill attacks. Her damage scales off of this echo great, and it's okay to forego the basic attack. Both of these echoes' primary stat is attack, and it's okay to level them up to maybe 10 or even 15 early game just to get some extra attack stats off of these echoes. But don't go much further beyond that because these resources are valuable, especially you want to be using it towards the better echoes you get later into the game. Milosh and Andreas are also great in this category. A lot of burn type heroes tend to do a lot of damage directly through skills. There are a few newer heroes in the game that behave like this as well. Basically, any hero that doesn't actually require doing damage on enemies' turns when the enemy takes turns and take dot damage themselves, these heroes usually scale really well through skill damage. So these are the common ones you see often promoted on the cheaper packs, or they're available in a free chest, for example, in the early Sword Harbor chests. Then on to Ultimate Defense. This one works really well because when you read any echo, well, you'll notice there's a primary stat at the top, and at the bottom you will have word description. And what's important to realize is the top primary stats apply to the initial stats of the hero, while the stats in the description, usually they're applying to the initial stats of the hero when they enter battle. So this is really important. So even though it's a small percentage at the bottom, this actually scales really well. So that means on your total stats. So if you have like a 40k defense Indra, that's going to be 12% or 16% increasing to that defense completely when you have this echo fully maxed out, which is a very significant amount compared to the base stat roll that it provides it. So for heroes like Indra, Shardinal, and Narch that scale off defense and are dot damage type dealers, this echo is great for them. Now, you run a team of 5, it is important to also have support. So Divine Shield and the And this particular echo here will be very helpful for you, because as the heroes that are taking 4 turns, you will be able to get attack up for the entire team, and the other one will help you with a little bit of survivability at the beginning of the round for 4 turns with extra defense on your team. Moving on to the epic echoes. Now there are, I think, 20 echoes in the game right now that are at the epic rarity, but only, I would say, there's only really maybe 5 or 6 of them that you will want to keep multiple copies of, and even potentially leveling them up. I think the best echo we have right now is Traveler's Diary, which is the first one. And you want to put this on a support that takes a lot of turns. Whenever this support goes, especially if it's attack-based support or you can have attack stats on it, it's going to increase the attack scaling off of the hero, but also has chance of increasing the skill damage or critical damage from this echo, which is great for with any remaining heroes on the team that scales off of attack. So this is great for that. Then we got basically the echo that looks at Hoff in it, and this one increase the effective hit. So, and whenever you're able to apply an attribute debuff to the enemy, you increase the skill damage the enemy takes. And if you ever land any HP dot onto the enemy, they will start taking additional HP burn damage. This is hugely helpful because many players will choose to have an Aerotol if they plan to, get limited heroes. Aerotol is a HP burn hero, and this echo works great on Mamulo, which is a great staple hero that increases the damage you do to enemies through HP burn. The third one is if you run any poison-based team, and this one, you actually don't want to put it on any poison hero with the exception of maybe Walter and Nita, which are immune to poison damage, because these dot damage actually hurts the poison hero a lot if they can't be immune to poison. However, if you put it on like a tank, the amount of poison damage you take is actually very, very tiny. So it's completely negligible, but what it does is it increases the poison damage for the entire team. So you can put like a different echo on your poison damage dealer, but the main support can use this echo. So that's why these 3 are super versatile. The first one is really good for attack-based heroes and ideally direct damage dealers. The middle one is for HP burn, and the last one is for poison teams. Now, there are some situational ones that you do want to run as well. The first one basically increases your effective resistance as a percentage of your effective hit. This works really well on heroes like Santa in a PvP situation where you want both effective hit and effective res to mitigate from enemy control effects. The second one is HP based, and you basically want to use it for its main stat, and whenever your heroes are taking turns, the enemy takes a percentage of your max HP as pure damage. This is little by little cleaving away at the enemy, and a little bit sometimes will make a difference, right? So heroes like Nordak, heroes like Catherine could potentially use this echo. The last one is if you happen to have a supporting tank hero that has the Protect Ally buff. So this is often seen on Nazil. This can be used on Gru, which is the hero in the icon here. But it could also be used on other heroes like Freud that has Protect Ally on everybody. Ether, this works on it great as well. So it's all about scaling off of HP and getting more HP from this. On the right hand side is for the damage dealers. I would say this will be an upgrade for skill damaging based heroes, especially that are attack based. Whenever you are doing any sort of skill, you have a chance of you increase 27% attack, and whenever you use a basic attack, you increase 9% attack. So any attack scaling based hero will benefit great from this echo. The second one is any direct damage dealer that can do a self-attack buff. Lydia falls under this category. Bethany falls under this category. Many heroes, especially if they take a double turn, they can that has attack up. Even Allcaster falls under this category. When you use its third skill, you get attack up. So then, this will be proc. And it will increase direct damage for, I think, 3 turns. And so this is a really good echo for direct damage dealers. The last one is is a Echo that increases defense, and it's great. It's designed for Cardinal, but it actually works on Narch and also work on Indra. So this will be the upgraded version of ultimate defense for these heroes. And this actually is the best in slot for Indra, if anyone's wondering. There isn't a legendary Echo that's better than this for Indra right now in the game. Below, there are a few situational epic echoes that are really helpful for you. If you happen to run a Rister, Rister will basically help your main DPS that's paired up with it and have it cloak. And this is probably the best epic echo to increase direct damage and attack and critical damage, all of that nicely packed all into one. This is probably the most value you can get out of an echo for direct damage dealers. The next one here is for any HP burn heroes, and you get HP and you get mastery upon entering battle. Works really well. And there's a really cool trick you can use with Quinlan and Feist, and it used to be really cool to be able to do a double HP burn upon the start of battle using this trick, but not a lot of people use that nowadays, given how easy it is to get to really powerful limited heroes early game. But if you're free to play and and if you're battling kind of in the middle of the tier group, this is actually a really cool combo you can try with Quinlan and Feist. And over here on the next echo is a picture of Canna, I think. It is the cat archer, and this one, upon entering battle, you get extra critical damage, and if you get to 150% critical damage, you can it drastically increase the critical damage for the rest of the battle. I think just because the fact you get critical damage on primary stat, it's going to be really helpful for early game, just because it's going to allow you to scale off critical damage and crit damage really well for your hero. So this is a really good transitional echo until you get to better echoes late game. And finally, battle specialist. This one, it's designed for Serena, but the most common hero to use with this is actually Agatha. And believe it or not, if you want to build Nordak to be a damage dealer, a direct damage dealer, you want to be putting this echo on Nordak as well, because it provides piercing. And that is a very valuable stat for direct damage dealers. And also the primary stat is critical rate, which is really helpful, especially early game, because it's so hard to get to 100% crit rate early game. All right, while I catch my breath, let's hear from our sponsor, Aptoide. Many of you know that I partner with Aptoide. Aptoide is a great way to save on the games that you play. Here, following the link in the description below, you're taken to download Infinite Magicraid on the Aptoide platform, as well as the AppCoins Wallet. Once you have downloaded them, you can open up the AppCoins Wallet to set it up. You can see there are many games that you can play on the Aptoide platform, and these games are very popular, and you will be able to save for all of the games that you play, and you'll be earning towards credits in your AppCoins Wallet. Please be sure to manage your wallet, back it up. You can link it to your own banking information, and making sure backing it up means you save all the credits in case you ever have to move devices or reinstall. When you go to the rewards section, this is where you can see the level of bonuses you have. From all the purchases I've made over my lifetime playing, I have earned myself towards 14% bonus as a base bonus. But when you use my promo code Gandalf5, you are going to get a 5% extra when you are spending on Infinite Magicraid. Once you go inside the game, you will notice that whenever you purchase any packs, now that as you're making these purchases, the payment screen is different, and you will know that you're working when the Aptoide app comes up. You have the option to pay regularly through your credit cards or PayPal, but if you have enough AppCoin credits, you can see you will be able to have the option of paying directly through the credits. And over here, you can see I'm earning 19% for every dollar I spent. And what's more important, you're saving on the taxes, because this is a lot cheaper than if you were to pay through, say, Google Play or through the Apple Store. By using an emulator, you will be able to also log in on a computer through your Apple ID. So I hope you are able to save and make your money's worth and get extra out of what you spend. All right, welcome back. Let's move on. So here are the basic legendary hero echoes. And when you do your echo pulse, you have a 50% chance of getting one of these. Basically, if you don't win the 50-50, this is what you get. And if you don't win the 50-50 twice in a row, the next time you're guaranteed the selected echo of your choice, which is on the next page. But we often end up with a lot of these basic legendary echoes, and often there are even events that give you a free echo selection chest. I think recently there was a Space Temple that gave us one of these for free. The first 4 that you see on the top, they're actually really good. I would even say the one for Bleed Heroes, this one might even be close to the, it is definitely best in slot for some of the older heroes such as Nidroid and Lucia. This is definitely best in slot. Not to mention it's best in slot for other older bleed heroes such as Alicia, which is an icon, for Hazaro, for any of the bleed damage dealers that lands a ton of bleed on the enemy, because it's actually really easy to land 6 bleed dot in a single turn, and immediately you increase your mastery by 96, which is a huge amount at 5 stars. Plus, you're also increasing your attack by 24%. The base stat is effective hit, and for a lot of the bleed damage dealers, they definitely need the effective hit. So this is like the best echo for a lot of the older bleed heroes. So if you're running bleed team, this is definitely a copy of echo you want to save and choose when you get these echo selection chests. The next one is All Out Battle, or whatever it's called. This one scales off of HP burn, and a lot of the newer heroes, or I guess mid to new heroes, have a mechanic where they're deducting their own HP to do HP burn damage. Astodon is in the icon, and obviously I didn't bother to put a copy of the hero that matches the icon. Their design for that hero obviously is the best in slot for them, but here I'm listing out the variety of heroes that actually, other than the ones in the icon, that are probably best in slot for them. So Quinlan deducts his own health to do HP burn damage, so this is great for him. Mamalo, is great. Adeline is also great. So both of these heroes, all 3 of these heroes deduct their HP, and it's great to use this echo for them. The next one is great for Anna because Anna can benefit from all 3 stacks of this. This gives you 30 mastery on the primary stat and increases burn damage if you can do detonate, beginning of the turn, and of course if you can do an attribute up. Both Malosh and Chelsea have that ability. So unless you get the specific echo for Chelsea for herself, this will be a really good echo for either one of them. Now for your burn damage team, what I suggest is maybe Malosh will grab this one, and then you get the best in slot echo for Chelsea if you're running a burn team focus. This echo can also kind of work on O'Grady's if you do get O'Grady's from Elemental City in the future. Finally, the last one is the echo that has Malot in it, and that will be the hero that allows all of your poison heroes to join attack. Now, this just gives you mastery, but every time when you land poison damage on the enemy, increase the amount of poison damage the enemy takes. So Nita or Veronica, heroes that can quickly dot up the enemy, will quickly stack up the requirements, and this is kind of like a good solution for these heroes. Now, we do have 4 other echoes that you could get from the echo selection chest, and they're not as great of the value. You can, of course, use it on Elsa. You can use it on Elsa here, but Maya, early game hero, if you happen to grab one of these, and if you're unlucky, you can use it on Maya. Sometimes people even feed some of these echoes away. I wouldn't feed your legendary echoes unless you are, desperate for, experience material. The next one is the Trent one. This one gives healing percentage and buffs both shield and healing. Alahan, if you happen to have one, this is one of the very few other heroes in game that gives shield and also a heal buff. So it will work with Alahan for sure. And then the third one, Ninoa. So Ninoa is used in late game PvP, and you could potentially use with this echo really well, because what ends up happening is Ninoa can cleanse all the control effects off of herself, but she will still have all of these attributes debuffs on her. So if you happen to have a max star copy of this works really well as a counterplay. So this echo is great for Ninoa, and this is pretty much the only hero I can think of that's best in slot. Now, if you can think of a best in slot other than Ether for using this Echo. And I can tell you the answer is not Nordak, because Nordak isn't best in slot for using this. And I know some people, said, they can get extra defense and HP out of it. Arguably, you don't need that much defense on Nordak. It's actually more important to have more HP on Nordak. So this is not the one you want to use. You can use this one if you just want to stack out HP. The conversion to HP is still not good enough. I know even on one of the older videos, someone asked me, is the rework Ether Echo good? No, it's still bad. If you have Ether, it is literally the only hero that can really benefit from it, because there is no other Echo that works well. All right, so finally, we're on to the last section. And these are all the expensive Echoes. These are the ones that, people really want to get. And usually if you happen to see them in packs, they're usually on the, $40 to $50 range. If you're ever looking for a spending guide, I do have one on my channel, and it kind of prices out all the different items in the game based on historical deals that kind of help you figure out, whenever a promo is coming around, what's a good buy versus what's not a good buy. So you can check that. I'll link it at the end of the video, on the end of the video page. What I'll say here is, I always feel like if you ever happen to need to get Echoes, because they do get expensive, is especially if free to play and if you have a chance to summon, I will go for the Echo that is the most versatile. And I think the best Echo in the game that serves that purpose is actually Santa's Echo, because the condition to trigger this Echo is super easy. So this is the first Echo that we're seeing here. And it's really easy to trigger this condition, because all you need is for your main hero to apply speed up. In the current meta where it's all about that weekly boss, or the daily boss, you pretty much need a speed up on every single one of these teams. So you can just move the Santa Echo around and basically get a free, multiplier damage for your entire team using this Echo. So huge value from this Echo, because it's the best all-rounder pick. From there onward, I feel like at least a 1-star on Esther is really important, because you get the extra turn meter. Beatrix, if you have Beatrix, definitely get it. So these are all great heroes that boost your entire team's damage. Heng is great. Freud is great. These are really meant for those specific heroes. Now, if you happen to, get a Marvel, so Marvel is a hero in Hidden Waves that can give remove buff block. So if any hero that comes along that has remove buff block, you can actually use this Echo to trigger the benefits. If you happen to have any hero on the team, so you just need to put this on a hero that can heal allies, and then as long as the healed allies have speed up or attack, you can also trigger all the damage boost from Freud. So what's really nice about these two Echoes is other heroes can actually use them to trigger these conditions, as long as they're, you have a viable setup that way. Henle's Echo also helps you boost the entire team's damage through just scaling off of effective resistance. Like, for example, if you're running a Wukong, in theory, what you could do is, if you feel like you have enough survivability, you can actually switch over Henle's Echo, especially if you build your Wukong with a lot of effective resistance. So that works really well. Or put this Echo on Panda, and it will boost your entire team's damage as well. So this is a really good option to be moved around. So again, I feel like Echoes that can be used to boost the entire team's damage has the most value. And finally, the last one is Big Jack's Echo, and it will boost the attack of the hero that Big Jack put the spotlight on. Now, the next thing is about surviving. And, Muron's Echo, which is the first one here, is the most helpful. Again, all of these Echoes you see on this page, most of them are designed for one hero. I would say that is pretty much true for majority of here. Like, there might be one or two other heroes that, will work, but they have designed the mechanic of these Echoes to be very, very specific. To make it work on specific heroes. I think Wukong, you can technically move his Echo around a little bit, because it basically converts excess critical damage into, defensive stat. But you're kind of taking up an Echo slot of another hero that could potentially have a much more impactful Echo on them as well. So think about the trade-offs. Salter is one that just straight up increases it help you with survivability. Unfortunately, this one does not work with Mamook. I've tested it, but this one just straight up does a flat damage reduction for your entire team. Atkins with this Echo reduces enemy damage output increasingly whenever you hit the enemy when you have this Echo on. Panda converts a second skill into additional shields and start the battle with more shields. So these are all ways to help your team survive even more. Catherine has, this special Echo that now basically give you a holy shield of some sort that when you fall below 35%, you can heal again, or whenever your consolidation falls off. You can actually put Lydia on this Echo and just to help you survive a little bit more. Though I do feel like, putting one of the, Echoes that increase your team damage might be more suitable for Lydia if you're trying to go for a speed cleave team. The last one is Ronai's Echo. There's a way to increase the tenacity of your entire team through that Echo. So again, prioritize one on the left, and only if you kind of have all the main ones you want on the left to match the hero you have. Of course, have the hero first, then go for these Echoes, then go for the ones on the right. Now comes the next row, which is pretty much the most broken heroes in the game, and I ranked it in terms of priority of getting them. Now, of course, if you don't have an Aerito, don't bother, go get an Aerito Echo. You probably, if you have any of these matching heroes, it is definitely worth to prioritize getting at least one copy of that Echo to go with that hero. It drastically changes their mechanic. I won't go into all the details. Basically, all of these are great for amplifying damage. When it comes to Moricus, it gives a second attack that allow you to land additional bleed damage and bleed dots onto the enemy. When it comes to Willa basically starts healing now, right? Basically, you have attack and healing all into one hero. So it's great for support, damage, and healing all in one. Little Jack, this is a really old Echo. It's one of the earlier ones that's designed. And surprisingly, it still works really well today. It's a very good all-rounder Echo that you can invest in and use on multiple heroes, because all it does is it increases burn damage and also increases skill damage. So, I actually find this is the best in slot right now for Xiaoying until we see an Echo that can better work with internal injury and mastery at the same time. I know people want to use Moshi's Echo for it, but Moshi's Echo really require you to take multiple turns to take advantage of it, and there's no direct damage that Xiaoying does. Now, on to the next row is, these are, again, they're all great Echoes. Don't get me wrong. All of these have a substantial increase to the base hero. So, for example, I did a video a long time ago, for example, for Moshi's Echo here. I think it was like increased Moshi's damage by like 20 to 30% easily. However, these are multipliers. So if the base hero is not as strong as some of the heroes in the above, I would highly recommend you prioritize the above Echoes here on core power heroes that's your main DPS carry, then to focus on a secondary hero. Now, if you're free to play, things are a little bit different. You might not be able to guarantee yourself a copy of the hero above, and it's whatever comes out of the luck of the draw. So Nita could be your main DPS as a free to play for a really long time, and is a very powerful DPS if you're free to play. Get this Echo. It will drastically increase the damage that your Nita outputs. And you will love this Echo for what it does. Now, what the problem with this Echo is, though, if you put this on any other dot damage dealer, it's going to kill itself real fast. So this is really meant for Nita, and the scaling off of this Echo is very decent. The next one is for Agatha. Now, at lower stars on this particular Echo, you're better off using just a 5-star battle specialist on the Echo on the previous page. But, if you're whaling and you got a really strong Agatha, you might want to consider getting this one. That's why I say it's kind of nice to have. The next one is for Moshi. So if you heavily invest into a Moshi, it's not a bad idea to grab one. The next one is for Bethany, and this one gives crit rate as a primary stat and gives crit damage on pursuit and skill damage. I feel like it works on Bethany. I'm trying to figure out other heroes that work really well on it. It's kind of hard. The next one is for Blaze, and this gives Blaze more damage. But Blaze, even though she can do damage, she doesn't do that much damage. So, end of the day, you're better off picking one of the Echoes that can actually boost team damage from that. In fact, putting Santa's Echo on Blaze is actually a better choice. The next one's for Anhesion, and this one works really well. It's mastery, and whenever you land HP burn dots, you just do more HP burn damage to the enemy. So this is a great all-rounder. Again, a better option than on the previous page for boosting HP and mastery. This one straight up boost mastery and just do more damage when you land HP burn on the enemy. So it works really well on this one as well. The next one allows Jenny to take extra turns and do an extra hit from her AoEs and skills, but Jenny still is more of a support DPS for her debuffs. It's not really the primary DPS in your lineup. However, if Jenny is all you got, give Jenny, this echo so that she can do even more damage as your primary DPS, for example. The next one is the newest one for Decora. Decora doesn't do a lot of damage. With this echo, Decora do a little bit more damage. But, if you, like I said, you have a slow starting base, even if you increase the damage output by 50%, it might not be enough, right? Finally, these are the ones we don't talk about anymore. On my account, I actually have 8 copies of the Lydia Echo. And at some point, this was a great Echo. It's great to be put on Lydia, and it's great to be put on Donald. But both of these have kind of fallen out of the meta. It works really well with heroes that counterattack and pursue attack, and it has a chance of preventing yourself getting CC'd and blocking a CC effect. But it's just, nowadays is more focusing about team damage, and Lydia usually carries a different Echo nowadays. The epic one that boosts your team damage that scales off her attacks. And the next one, this one was designed on Popper's release. This is probably the one Echo that nobody went and get, because really the original thought was if Popper had this Echo, Popper would do more damage, and hopefully the E1 on explosion will be able to kill some enemies. And the other effects of this Echo increase the ability to land debuffs. But end of the day, what people often roll is the Hoff debuff. You get the effective hit from that Echo, and then when you land attribute debuffs on the enemy, you make them take more skill damage. So that actually ends up working a little bit better than this particular Echo. So that's why we don't talk about these two Echoes anymore. So hopefully you enjoyed this video and you got a lot of information around how do you want to prioritize investing into Echoes. And if you would like to support me, just make sure whenever, beginning of every month, make sure you download Aptoide. And once you have Aptoide, you can use my code. You're saving by not having to pay taxes. You are saving by earning rebate on every single purchase, not only in Infinite Magicraid, but any other games on the Aptoide platform. And I get a very small cut of what you spend through Aptoide. Thank you very much. If you like what I do and you want to support me, please like and subscribe. I rolled out plenty of videos all about how to master the game, and you get all the details and intricacies to help you get the advantage over the competition, regardless of your spending bracket. I'll catch you guys in the future. Gandalf out.